The Royal Navy has released some extraordinary photographs showing Royal Marine commandos deploying from a German U-boat in the icy water some 200 miles inside the Arctic Circle. The troops were taking part in Exercise Cold Response, NATO's largest exercise in the High North, which the Royal Navy describes as fiercely contested area. Now, these drills, these exercises, clearly a show of force and capability, because the troops were training for covert insertion missions, and the only country outside NATO that has a shoreline like the one they were training on inside the Arctic Circle is, of course, Russia. Troops from the Royal Marines, Surveillance and Reconnaissance Squadron, Shore Reconnaissance Troop and 148 Forward Observation Battery, all deployed from the German U-boat into silent stealth craft, surface craft, to sneak onto shore. It appears they emerged from the submarine just before dawn. They snuck onto shore, carried out their exercise and came back. This is a pretty niche and specialist capability. It is a show of force. It's some of the most highly trained troops in the Royal Marine Commandos. They are specialist forces, not quite categorized as special forces like the SAS and the SBS, but the Royal Navy acknowledge that they do work with those forces. In fact, the level of skills, the level of classification that these troops work under is such that the Navy refused to release the names of the commandos from those units who it quoted discussing this operation. It was unusual to see commandos deploying from a German U-boat. Historically and in the past, we've seen similar images of commandos doing this sort of exercise from an Astute class submarine. That's the Royal Navy's nuclear-powered hunter-killer submarine. Now, it may be that this was just an exercise in NATO cooperation, but of course it may also be because all but one of the Navy's Astute class submarines are stuck in port at the moment, and the only one that is at sea is sailing back from Western Australia, where it's been on a visit to promote the AUKUS nuclear deal between the United Kingdom, the United States and Australia. But there are advantages, clear advantages in some sense, from doing this sort of exercise from a German U-boat. These German diesel-electric U-boats are about half the size, or at least half the length, of a Royal Navy Astute class submarine. They're smaller, they're incredibly quiet, very, very difficult for Russia to detect were they to approach Russian waters. Now, of course, neither the Navy nor the Marines said that this was an exercise aimed directly at Russia, but as I said, Russia is the only nation with the sort of coastline outside NATO, because of course you've got Norway, you've got Canada, and then the rest of the Arctic coast really is Russia. You've got Norway, you've got Canada, you've got Greenland, you've got Iceland, but most of the nation with the largest Arctic shoreline, similar to the sort of terrain where these troops have been operating, is of course Russia.